Okay, so we're online. Sorry, YouTube. Unforeseen network problems. Couldn't start recording. Okay, so we're in Eclipse, so you're going to learn a little bit more about how to use it. And we've written all these old programs, we want to incorporate them in Eclipse, in our new system. So I always hate it when old files are still open, and then you have to close them one by one. But there's luckily a little shortcut. If you right-click there, and you press close all, it'll just close all these editor windows. But you can have many editor windows open. And just before I do anything else, I'll show you that Eclipse, this whole environment is quite powerful. So sometimes you want to edit things side by side. And if you drag a tab, it shows all these options. You can put it anywhere you want, really, even there. But I'll put it right there. So I've got two editor windows that I can compare things with. Just be careful not to get confused. But that's not exactly what I want to do today. What I really want to do is to at least make a project and import some of my old project files. So I'm going to say a new project. And the last big program we wrote in class is Würfelspiel. Würfelspiel? That's not Swedish, it's German. I don't know I can't make a mock German accent. Okay. So we should be writing the files here. And we could make a file, make a class, and copy, paste all the code. But Eclipse also has an import feature. So I could say file, import, and then I get this list of thousands of things that I can import, and it's a little confusing. But 99% of the time, you always want to go to General, and then archive file, that's a zip file. Existing projects, you can copy one project from another one. I don't know what preferences are, but file system, just from the files from the disk, some file you want to import. So I'm going to say next from directory. Okay, I'll browse. Oh, my Eclipse is a little stupid. Sorry about this. Let's just say cancel and do that. This is a Mac thing. Don't worry about that. If I don't browse in full screen, it goes to the wrong place. Okay, and it's in Dropbox, teaching, this year. There's it. Programs. And I think it was in Mozart. These are all little programs we've written. You've written. I hope you've got a similar directory. And Würfelspiel. Okay. No, can't select it because it'll do that. Okay, fine. I want just the Java file. Finish. Oh. Okay, there's an issue. Just default package. Würfelspiel. Okay, now this font is enormous. Yeah, maybe I can make it just a little smaller. Font. Just a little too big. Text font. Okay. Edit 40. Okay. Apply that. Okay. Okay, that's maybe a little easier to see. So I'm gonna make this big, and it's complaining about standard out and standard audio. That's because standard out and standard audio are not part of Java. Oh, sorry, Eclipse. They're not part of Java either. Standard in, standard audio, standard out, standard draw. Those files were written by Sedgwick and Wayne, people who wrote the textbook, and they distribute them with the textbook or on the website, and you can use it, but it's not officially part of Java. So that's why Eclipse doesn't know about these files. So I must add them to this project if I want to use them. So I'm going to say, go to the website, resources, down here at the bottom is standard audio, which I'll save, standard out, which I'll save. Okay, goodie. I'm going to go back here and say import file system, next, go to downloads, open standard audio, standard out. oh no, they're in the wrong place. Okay, so it put them kind of, I probably made a mistake on one of the previous screens when asked where to put them, but I want to move them in there, and I can do that, but there are other ways of doing it as well. So yesterday we refactored the variable name, and I renamed the variable and renamed the variable throughout, and that was really convenient. There are many kinds of refactorings. When you're working on software, if you want to make a small change, it's okay to edit it in an editor, but if you want to make a big change that affects many places, maybe you want to take one program and split it into separate parts, you want to combine different programs, or you want to move things around, that's all called refactorings. And you can also refactor files. Well, the only option is to move them, and I'll move them into Würfelspiel source. Okay. So now I put them there automatically by Würfelspiel. There's Würfelspiel, and there is standard out, standard audio. And as you can see in Eclipse, all the issues have gone away. So it's not reporting those as mistakes anymore. There is, unfortunately, a small issue. That is that I do not want to import standard out.java, standard audio.java into every single project that I'm writing, because I'll probably be using them a lot. So I kind of want to put them in a shared place. So what I'm going to do is to make a new project that I will call SW, or Sedgwick and Wayne. And I'm going to move standard audio and standard out. I'm going to refactor and move them to Sedgwick and Wayne source. Okay, and now my mistakes are back in Würfelspiel because it no longer knows where standard audio and standard out is. So I have to tell it. Now this is tricky, but you guys are clever, so it's not impossible. You're the TV, no, you're not the TV generation. I guess you're the iPad generation. You've probably played with iPads in the womb. A brilliant business idea. Little iPads you can insert into the uterus and let the baby start playing. Write that down, but I'll do that a little later. Okay, so I'm going to right-click on Würfelspiel and then go to, I want to go to Build Path. I know there are many options here, and I don't know what they all do. Okay, there we go. Many options here, and I don't know what they do, but you get to know the ones you use a lot. And this is something you'll probably use, well, at least once for a project if you're going to use standard out and standard in. So this is where you can tell Eclipse, this is my project, Würfelspiel, and it uses a lot of other projects, or it uses some other projects. Or there's a really fancy library that I've downloaded from the internet for parsing the command line or doing special kind of graphics or anything you want to do. Any additional libraries you can specify in this configure, this preference pane. In this case, if you download libraries, you'd go to library and say add a jar or add some external jar. In this case, it's another project that I want to include in this project. So I'm going to say add. And it gives me the list of projects that I have. Obviously not Würfelspiel because it can't reference itself, but Sedgwick and Wayne is the one I want. I say OK, apply, okay. And once again, the standard audio and standard out has gone away. So let's just recap. What I've done is I've made a new project called Sedgwick and Wayne. Why is this blue? I don't like that. I didn't make it go away, but I will go full screen. So I've made a new project called SW, Sedgwick and Wayne, and I put inside its source folder, I put standard audio and standard out. It's probably a good idea to add standard in and standard draw there as well. So let's just say import. Oh, that's getting boring. File system. I don't. Stupid Mac. Can't have old things. Okay, fine. make it smaller, browse. I actually want to go to my teaching folder this year, Computer Science 1 programs. Open. And then, I mean, I could include all this stuff, but that'll be a little too much. So let's just go find standard in and so Java standard draw. Okay, fine. So now they're all here, and every time I have a project that needs to use these files, I'll just go to the project and say build path configure, or you can go down here, I think, properties. You really want, and find the build path on the left-hand side and say, I want to link a new project into this project. You can link many projects together. They're all fine. That's all fine. Okay. So that's getting standard audio, standard out, standard in to work. Unfortunately, this program won't be running, will it? Because I am talking about measures. All those measures, pre-composed measures that Mozart supplied us. It's still trying to reference that directory, and on the command line it was fine. Oops, my mistake. On the command line it was fine. Dropbox, teaching, RW114 programs. So this is where we wrote it almost a week ago, exactly a week ago. On the command line it was fine because I had measures.zip and I unfolded it and it created the measures directory in this right-hand column. And inside the measures directory, I had all the WAV files that Mozart composed. He was really very much ahead of his time by creating these WAV files for us. And an often neglected part of Mozart's abilities. Okay, right. So, how am I going to get those into Eclipse? Well, it's the same story. I'm just going to import. I hope this works. Let's see if I can import. Well, if it doesn't work, we've learned something. And if it does work, I've learned something new. And now I know that I must make it smaller first, because I want to see the little browser window. Directory, Mozart. Who's Mozart? Open it. And can I pick the whole? No, I can't pick the whole measures directory. It's not available. I don't want to select them one by one. That'll be too tedious. So I'm going to do something else. That didn't work for me. But instead, I'm going to say, in Weervoorspel, right-click, new folder. So I'm going to make my measures folder here. I'm going to make a folder called measure. Okay, great. So there's my source code folder, and there's my measures folder. And now, on the command line, I'm going to copy files into the measures. So this is going to be a little tricky, but it's something we often do, so let's just see how it goes. At the moment, I'm in the Mozart directory, and I'm in this very long, you can't see that properly. I'm in this very long directory, users, added, that's my user account, Dropbox, teaching, 2016, about. And actually, I'll go inside measures. I'm at this point. And there's a lot of files here, lots of web files. These T1s and those others, and I all want to copy to that new measures folder I created in Eclipse. So the first question is, where do I find the measures folder? So if I go to my home directory and I do an ls, I'll see that there's a new folder called workspace. That's the folder I selected when Eclipse started up the very first time. It asked me, where do you want to store all your Eclipse projects? So they're all inside workspace. So let's go inside workspace. See what's going on. Add. Oh yeah, that's the add project I made in the TUT yesterday. Convoluted was in the TUT. Grid was in the TUT. This morning I made SW and Würfelspiel. Let's go inside Würfelspiel. 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 Inside Würfelspiel. Okay, so there's a bin folder. I don't know about that. Let's just check it out. Okay, Eclipse doesn't show a bin folder. That's odd. And it does show a system library, but I can't see that on this screen. And it's, sorry, it shows a source folder, and that I can see. And then I've just created a measures folder, and I can see that as well. So what's going on? This bin folder, well, let's have a look inside. Let's not be afraid. What's inside bin? Ah, Würfelspiel.class. So bin is where Eclipse puts all your compiled files. You write the Java files, and in the past we used Java-C to create the class file. But we now know we don't have to compile any longer. Eclipse compiles automatically all the time. It's got an incremental compiler. That means you make a small change, it compiles. You make another small change, it compiles. And when it compiles those files, it puts them inside bin. All the files go inside bin. And it hides bin from you, the user. So when you're using Eclipse, you don't see bin because you probably don't, not interested in it. If you really want, you can get it. There's a way to see it. But we don't want. So that shows source, the Java system library, which is a kind of virtual folder that Eclipse shows us, and the measures folder that we created. And in the real world, actually on the disk, on the files, there is actually a bin directory, which you can't see in Eclipse, measures and source, and no Java system library directory. So there's a bit of a mismatch between what is actually on the disk, on the file system, and what Eclipse is showing us. But that's for our inconvenience. Eclipse doesn't want to confuse us more than it has to. Right, so I have a measures directory here, and I can just copy all my files into measures. So now I've got to figure out where to copy it. So this is my directory, but I've got to add measures to that. I'm going to copy. I'm going to go here. I'm inside measures. I'm going to say copy all the files, all the WAV files, to this directory measures. If I press tab, fill it out. Okay, I'm copying all my WAV files into my Eclipse workspace. I'm copying all the WAV files to home directory, workspace, Würfelspiel measures. Good. Okay, I'll do that. Oh, it's taking a long time. Okay, not that long. Okay, they're still here, but they should also be inside measures. Okay, there they are. So they're in Eclipse. Let's see what Eclipse says. It's not saying anything. According to Eclipse, measures is still empty. And that's because it shows you this funny view, looking view. It's not a perfect reflection of what is on the disk. So if I make a change from outside Eclipse to what's on the files on the disk, I have to tell Eclipse to refresh its view. So I'm going to ask Eclipse, right-click, refresh. Look, there are lots of things on this menu item, and I know they're confusing, but the only ones you're really ever going to use, trust me, is new and build path from time to time. Maybe you want to refactor, maybe you'll just learn a shortcut. Import, not so much, and run. People use that a lot. But this I'm going to refresh, and now it shows a triangle. If I open it up, it shows me all those WAV files. So that's good. Now my program can run. It'll run from this Würfelspiel base directory, root directory. And that's why if I say measures T, you will see the measures folder, find the T WAV file from inside there. Let's just run and make 100% sure I'm not lying to you. So I'm going to run Würfelspiel.java. Yes. Oh, you can't hear it. There's also a chicken. Okay, beautifully boring. Okay, right. Okay, that's beautiful. Right. So that's one part that I need to show you. Just getting up and running with standard in, standard audio, standard out. Let's do something entirely different. There are two things I still need to clean up from previous weeks. Two things I haven't told you about. You saw one on Wednesday a little bit, and you didn't see the other one all. So from now on, I'm probably going to use Eclipse exclusively. Close that. And this is the console when it shows the output, and I think I can clean it somehow. Clear. Yeah, good. Just to make things neat. And I'm going to make a new project to show you what I have to show you. And for this purpose, I'll call the project Yaku Was Late. To remind ourselves that I am still in your debt a little bit. And I'll make a file. Doesn't really matter what I call it. I'll call it cleaning up. Because it's a few things we've left off that we should have talked about. So here I have my package cleaning up. And I want some main routine. So I'll write main. Oops. Control space. Main method. Yes, that's what I want. And I want to have X. So this is basically like the test. Oh, by the way, how was the test? Easy peasy. Nothing to be afraid of, just like in class. Everybody happy? Right. I'll have an X and a Y. And then I'm going to call a method. Let's call it A. I'll pass X and Y. And I will output sysout X, Y. Like to be neat. Okay, I haven't created AAA, so I'll ask Eclipse to create it. It calls it private, but I don't know about that. I just want static, public. And then I have to do something. What do I do? Let's just add them. No, let's make something else. Let's say X becomes X plus 1. Good. Excellent. So I've written my little program. Let's just think what it'll do. X is 3, Y is 5 when the program executes. It passes 3 and 5 to add. So I can use the debugger, but I actually hate the debugger. It's too confusing. I never ever use the debugger, even though I told you about it, and I encourage you to use it. It is useful, but I just prefer to look at pictures of cats when I can't fix a problem and avoid the issue. You shouldn't be doing that. You should try to fix your program mistakes. I'm just a little lazier than you guys. Okay. So, AAA receives two parameters, 3 and 5. X and Y have the same names, these parameters, these arguments, formal parameters. They have the same names as the variables that I passed to them in main. So here they're called X and Y, and here they're called X and Y as well. But these are really different variables. They're not the same. AAA can't really see the X and the Y in main. You can't see those values. They belong to main. Their scope is main. Scope is where the variables are visible. So the scope of this X and Y is main. The scope of this X and Y is AAA. And we're really talking about 4 separate variables. X and Y in main, and X and Y in AAA. And that's why I receive 3 and 5, and when I increment X, it's the X in AAA that's incremented. So it's now 4 and 5. And when I add them, actually, I'm now going to change the program a little because I realized that it didn't show what I wanted. So when I add them, I'm adding 4 and 5, and that's 9. It sends back 9, and it puts 9 that AAA has just returned to me. It puts 9 in Y. So x used to be 3, y used to be 5, but now I put a 9 in y, so x is 3 and y is 9. Even though I incremented x in AAA, it's not the top x that I incremented. Mains x stayed 3. I passed it over to AAA, it changed its own x to 4, but not the x in main. That's still 3. And this program should output 3 and 9. Let's just see if I'm right or if I'm lying to you right in your face. Oh, no, I'm not. I'm right. So 3 and 9 is the output we expect. Now, often, quite a lot in fact, it's extremely useful to share variables between different routines. So it would have been quite useful if I didn't have to pass x to AAA, and if AAA could actually change the x in main. Sometimes this kind of thing is unavoidable. You can't really write the program without doing this, because otherwise you have to pass everything to a subroutine. It changes things. It has to somehow pass everything back to you. That's inconvenient and impossible to write a program sometimes using those constraints. So we have to learn about not local variables, but global variables. And you already saw that in the test samples that I showed you last year's class. By this time, we actually had finished that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this x, and at the moment it's a local variable that belongs to main. I'm going to make it global so that it belongs to the whole class file, to the whole cleaning up. So instead of declaring it inside static void main, I'm going to declare it up here, public static int x equals 3. Now, the scope of x is the whole of the class cleaning up. And both main and AAA can see that x, well, almost, get to that in a second, and both of them can change it, almost, I'll get to that in a second. They can't really see and change it, because at the moment, main is still declaring its own x, and that overrides the global x. So this local x of main is actually hiding the fact that there is a global variable x that main has access to. When main talks about x, it'll talk about its own local x, because that's the one that's closest to main in some sense. But if I take it out, then main, it still uses x, but it's the global x that it's using. Eclipse actually indicates this to you by making x impossible to see, but it's blue and slightly italic. If I put back the local x, you can see it changes to a slightly different font. Can you see that? Don't make me make you see that. Do I have a magnifying glass? I think I may have, but I'm not going to. Let's not go there. Okay. So x has got it's just a regular x, but if I take out the local variable, it becomes blue and italic. So Eclipse is giving you a subtle clue that you're not talking about that global variable x. And now main is actually passing the global variable x, which also happens to be 3, to add, but add still has a parameter called x. And it still receives the global values of 3 in this x, but then it becomes local. So when AAA is changing x, it's still changing its local copy. AAA talks about x, it's talking about this parameter x, because that's local to AAA. And it's overriding the global. But if I take it out by, for example, renaming it, let's rename it. Let's call it Z. Now, Eclipse has been clever enough to replace all the x's in AAA with Z, because I've just asked it to rename that variable. The global x is still called x because it's not the same variable. This local x appears in a few places inside AAA, eclipses rename all of them, but the global X is still has its name. But now I'm going to make a little change here. I'm going to say it's the global X that I want to assign to, and it's the global X that I want to add to Y. So, main sends over the global X, which contains value 3, to AAA. AAA receives that global X, and it contains, Z contains 3, and Y contains 5 at the start. Give me, it's going to teach a little bit, okay? Right, okay. So now it takes Z plus 1, which is 3 plus 1, it's 4, and it puts that in the global X, the global X box, which means that if main tries to look at X, it'll now see a 4 instead of 3. AAA has changed the global variable that's shared between main and AAA. Okay, so it puts 4 in X, and it returns 4 plus 5, which is 9. So the 9 comes along and goes in Y, which is local to main. So global X contains 4 now. AAA has changed it. And Y contains 9. And if I run the program again, it'll print global X, which is 4 now, plus Y, the local variable, that's 9. Save. Previous iteration, previous run of the program still said 3.9, but if I run it again, this is 4.9. So this is quite useful. It allows you to share a lot of information between 2 routines, 2 static methods, 3 static methods, 50, without having to pass the information around all the time. You were going to ask me something.
I was going to ask if you could specify which X.
No. Yes, I want to show you. No. No. No, you go. I know. You go. No, let's not go there. Next semester. Maybe. Maybe not. They didn't pass this course. You'll all pass. Okay. I hope. Right. So this is global variables, passing them around. We have 4 minutes. I was late. That's bad. Oh. Okay. So I'm not going to lie to you. I'm not going to give you next Friday off just because I was really late today. That would be really very kind of me, but not very ethical, because I can't just reward you because I made a big mistake. But for a very different reason, I'm going to give you next Friday off. You can't have class next Friday. I'm going to have to be away. So next Friday, 8 o'clock, there won't be a class. Okay, and I'm not going to carry on with the time is going to run out. But very important. Well, it wouldn't have mattered anyway. But I forgot to mention one important admin detail, and that is that if you have not written the first practical test for whatever reason. And I'm assuming it's medical, because why would you just stay away? That's insane. But if you've not written the first practical test, the makeup first practical test will be on Thursday, Naga H. And it'll be exactly similar to the first practical test, although not identical. It'll be gleich, but it's not dasselbe, as they say in German. Okay? That's gleiche, not dasselbe. Okay. You don't need to bring me a medical certificate. I do not want to hear about your sicknesses and illnesses and all kinds of stuff. You can just show up. You can't show up if you've already written the practical test. If you come to the second practical test and write that, but you've already written the first, I know who you are because I have all your practical tests. You're not allowed to write that. In general, I do not want to have makeup tests of any kind because it's extra work for me, and scheduling issues for you, and people get nervous. But just for the first practical test, we will have a makeup. For the second practical, no makeup. For the written tests, no makeup. There are 3 written tests during term time, of which only 2 count. So you have 1 freebie. You can take all 3, and the highest 2 marks will be used, or you can stay away just randomly from any test you want to come to. And you can still pass the course with 100%. Okay. You are going to say and pass.
When do you think the first practical marks?
When do I think? I do not have any idea. I cannot predict the future. It's just not possible for me to predict the future. But I am going to mark your written tests first tonight, starting now basically. That'll be my Friday. And then I'm going to mark all the practical tests. So I hope by Monday. But I'm not going to promise that because my promises never come out. Well, I say that. So I hope by Monday you'll have your practical test marks plus your written test marks of yesterday. Obviously, if you haven't written the practical test, you're not going to have a mark. But you'll be writing the makeup next Thursday in RW114. Okay, right. Thanks, guys.